My name is Bruce Banner, and this is me. I'm not a person anymore. I'm the Hulk.
Dr. Banner, the countdown has begun.
In a few seconds, we'll finally learn what happens when the gamma rays are released.
The Incredible Hulk debuted in 1962, following the story of a scientist who was caught in a blast of gamma radiation, now transforming into a lumbering creature of immense strength. Despite the character's rocky start, Hulk would climb his way to become one of Marvel's most popular heroes, spanning his success to television, films, and video games. Hulk's venture into video games began with a blunder, with The Incredible Hulk by the Parker brothers failing to release in the fall of 1983 thanks to the video game crash of the same year. In 1984, Adventure International released Quest Probe featuring the Hulk, a text-adventure game that allowed players to interact with the Hulk story through text prompts. It wouldn't be until 1994 that the Green Goliath would helm a side-scrolling platforming beat-em-up, The Incredible Hulk, developed by Probe Studios. 2 years later, Hulk would make the leap to the world of 3D with The Incredible Hulk: The Pantheon Saga, developed by Attention to Detail. Beyond this, the Hulk continued to appear in video games as a supporting character in titles such as Marvel superheroes. However, the start of the new millennium would usher in a new era for video games and the broadening appeal of comic book franchises. Founded by Rory Armis, Dave Davis, and Ian Wilkinson, Radical Entertainment worked its way up in the video game industry by mainly developing ports for the NES, along with many other video games based on existing IPs. Something that became a staple for the company, proving themselves to be trustworthy in handling pre-existing properties. This became evident in 2001 with the release of The Simpsons Road Rage, which received favorable reviews from both critics and fans. From then on, Radical began to prove itself with each new release. On January 16, 2002, Universal Interactive, later known as Vivendi Universal, announced its deal with Marvel Enterprises for the video game rights to Hulk. This came as no surprise, as during the same year, post-production was set to begin for the Hulk movie. Vivendi passed the title around to various developers before partnering with Radical Entertainment, being impressed by how quickly the team developed a playable prototype in just 2 weeks.
As usual with these pitches, you have about 2 weeks to pull everything together. We used Maya extensively to generate the art on a very quick timeline, 2 weeks. And we then dumped it into our engine and we put together the control system very quickly. We made the small world, the level that the demo was part of in Maya as well, and it generally went very smoothly.
On May 27, 2003, Radical Entertainment released Hulk for the PS2, Xbox, GameCube, and PC. The general reception to the game had been that it was a fine addition to the ever-growing movie tie-in craze, and was one of the better attempts, but it could have been much more. Casual gamers and critics weren't fans of the Bruce Banner stealth levels, or the fact that everything was linear. Even then, it was the best Hulk game up to that point.
Thanks for looking after me, mate. Most people would have said nothing.
Radical was stumped on what to do next. Upon trying to find an idea, the company noticed an increase in the popularity of open-world video games, notably due to the success of the Grand Theft Auto series. However, competition to Radical would be other comic book-based video games. Spider-Man 2 had released in 2004 and blew the doors wide open when it came to successfully incorporating a comic book character in an open-world environment. Radical decided to up their game to show what they were capable of with the Hulk IP. The idea of it being another movie tie-in was out of the question, as it was evident there wouldn't be a sequel to the Hulk movie. But this would be no problem, as it allowed the team complete freedom to begin with an original story. Vivendi Universal would announce Radical's new Hulk project on December 17, 2004, making it clear that this wouldn't be a sequel to the first game and would be an open-world adventure. The game's lead designer, Eric Holmes, explains the process behind the 2003 game and how it helped pave the way to Ultimate Destruction in an interview from the mind behind the games, interviews with cult and classic video game developers. The 2003 Hulk game was a very quick turnaround on a movie license. That project was the necessary on-ramp to Ultimate Destruction, as we developed our tools and processes from almost nothing before that game. The movie game was a bit of a blur, but it taught all of us what we were good at and what we weren't so good at. For example, we were pretty good at making characters do some cool interactions with objects and physics. We weren't so good at linear levels, dictated cameras, and making navigation fun. So for the Incredible Hulk Ultimate Destruction, these either became things we knew we'd have to improve or avoid. That game, 2003's Hulk, was a huge struggle as we were building a lot of the core technology as we went. The Incredible Hulk Ultimate Destruction leveraged a lot on what we figured out in terms of tools and in terms of the team, who we were and what we were good at. So that let us move quickly. The team was small, just over 30 people, and it was a team that made it a pleasure to work on the game. I remember us laughing a lot throughout the production. People liked what they were doing. When that energy is in place, it makes all the difference. Comic book artist Brian Hitch will be put in charge of character concepts and design, as the team over at Radical were big fans of Hitch's work on the Ultimate Comics, and thought it'd be perfect to bring this look over to the game. No cell shading would be used this time around, as the team opted for Brian's gritty, dark, and realistic aesthetic. Crafting the story would be another person from the comic industry, Paul Jenkins, a writer who was already familiar with the Hulk, as he was put in charge of the Incredible Hulk comic run in the early 2000s. In an interview from Matt McMuscles, Eric Holmes revealed very early plans for the game that unfortunately didn't get too far.
There are always things that are cut in every game. One of the earlier ideas was to go much deeper on the other Hulks. If you look at Paul Jenkins' comic story introducing the Devil Hulk, there is a whole exploration of the Professor and Joe Fixit and other aspects of what's inside Banner's brain. I think at some point we were thinking about exploring the multiple versions of Hulk a bit more. I can certainly say that Paul working with us on the story was a big highlight of the project.
Scheduled for release in the summer of 2005, the team was given a limited budget and short development time, making it uncertain if they could truly live up to their expectations and ambitions. There was a long time when we weren't sure if we could deliver an open world where we could load the environment. A lot of people said it was impossible. Russell Hill, our technical art director, pretty much single-handedly proved all the naysayers wrong and just made it happen without a lot of help. Doing the impossible is Russell's trademark. The biggest breakthrough was when we tied the Hulk's movement together with the physics system of our world. We knew we wanted to create a character all about one thing: power. Everything we did was about overdoing his strength. His power grants him speed, but his power means he can't turn without sliding and ripping the tarmac under his feet. The breakthrough moment was making him smash stuff out of his way when he runs. Running into a truck just bashed it out of the way. With a dynamic traffic system, it just made running around town feel amazing as you smashed everything out of your path. Add to this the huge jumps the character could do, and while running, and we had movement that felt unstoppable. Tapping into the true potential of destructive sound, Radical turned to sound design studio Radius 360. On September 20th, 2004, with the help of Dane Tracks, the crew traveled to a car junkyard and recorded the sounds of real cars being destroyed to give an authentic and tangible sound to the Hulk's destruction. We can't exactly do repeat takes. Some of these sessions are rather expensive for us to stage and very critical, so we have to have dependable hardware. And it's great to have a multi-track in the field because we like to use a lot of different microphones in different positions. For us, it's all about discrete tracks. We listen to each take quickly on headphones, reposition mics, or change the gain structure, and drop the car again or another car. We just want good, solid, clean, true discrete recordings. It's raw material. All our bells and whistles are further down the line back in our sound design studios. The talent for the game included Neil McDonough, Ron Perlman, Daniel Royden, Richard Mole, David Thomas, Vanessa Marshall, and Michael Donovan. Neil McDonough was familiar with the role as he had portrayed Bruce Banner in the Incredible Hulk animated series from 1996. However, he wouldn't be the only returning cast member, as Richard Mole and Michael Donovan starred in the series as Abomination and Grey Hulk respectively. Although Richard Mole will be playing the role of the Devil Hulk this time around. Michael Donovan had already reprised his role in the previous game as a secret character.
Gentlemen, one at a time!
Ron Perlman, who now took on the role of Emil Blonsky, aka The Abomination, also voiced both Bruce Banner and Hulk in the Fantastic Four and Iron Man animated shows. There is one cast member who isn't credited as a specific character, but he is someone whose voice anyone would recognize today as Hulk: Fred Tatasciore. Tatasciore, who would become the go-to voice for Hulk, makes his debut as the character in this project. Composer Bill Brown would be in charge of the game's soundtrack. He later finds himself on another comic book project, Captain America: Super Soldier. In March 2005, loads of new information would be revealed, including the title, Vivendi's acquisition of Radical, and a showcase at Wizard World LA. A website was launched to further promote the game, including a first look at a new comic miniseries by writer Peter David and artist Jim Mooniz, Hulk Destruction. Hulk Destruction was being marketed as the story behind the game, while also being sold as its own thing, telling the definitive origin for Abomination, as said by Peter David in an interview on Newsrama.com. The comic was released in July 2005. E3 came along with a booth dedicated to the game and a playable build.
It's all us right there, developed by Radical, makers of Hit and Run, released by video games. Nice. Wait till they get a load of the cheats, they're pretty good. Oh, nice.
Marketing would ramp up with an exclusive reprint of The Incredible Hulk #1, with 3 variations of cover art by Amanda Conner. A sweepstake involved with the game was promoted by Mountain Dew, but unfortunately I can't find any more information on this. The official PlayStation magazine featured a playable demo of Ultimate Destruction in its 96th issue released on August 11, 2005. Xbox would follow suit a month later. Nintendo attached the demo to their monthly store GameCube demo discs. The UK PlayStation 2 magazine featured a demo with a bonus code that was used to determine the score of players. Whoever had the highest score would win a TV. Individual demo discs of the game were also given out at various events. By August 5th, the game had officially gone gold. No longer could the power of the Hulk be contained. Soon, the ultimate in destruction would be put to the test.
We've got a 1099 in progress. Suspect is approximately 12 feet tall, green skin. All units move in. Perp is unarmed. Mayday, mayday.
The world is your weapon, rage is your ammunition, and the target is whatever you want to destroy. Quite possibly the best superhero game to date. The Incredible Hulk Ultimate Destruction, rated T for teen.
On August 25th, 2005, The Incredible Hulk Ultimate Destruction was officially released in stores everywhere, receiving generally positive reviews with around 8.5 out of 10 being the common rating, 9 out of 10 being the highest, and 7.5 out of 10 being the lowest. Critics and fans alike praised the interactive open world and vast arsenal of abilities that fueled the gameplay experience. Common criticism pointed toward how overbearing the enemies could be at times, and the use of text to tell the story, which was only done due to the game's budget. Eric Holmes has expressed dissatisfaction over it and wishes they could have done more FMVs. Overall, every other aspect of the game was seen as a huge improvement over its predecessor. While Ultimate Destruction is only a single-player adventure, the more than 70 missions vary in objective. They range from simple attack and destroy and escort and defend tasks, to mini-games that challenge you to run through an obstacle course or hunt for hidden objects in the huge metropolis. The game's graphics and animation are suitably cartoon-like, and the action is quite smooth, even when a number of people, vehicles, and buildings are rendered on the screen at the same time. Nearly everything in the game is destructible. The 150 total moves, epic fights, and bonus goodies such as unlockable vintage Hulk comic book covers, movie clips, and behind-the-scenes images all help add depth and replayability to this over-the-top action game. The Incredible Hulk Ultimate Destruction does a great job making the player feel like an invincible superhero and is a perfect tension breaker for those days when you need to relax and unwind. Ultimate Destruction competed with Activision's Ultimate Spider-Man and X-Men Legends 2. And while there isn't an exact number of units sold, it ended up being the lowest selling out of the 3 on all platforms. However, it did well enough on the PS2 to get a greatest hits copy. It did not underperform, but it also didn't bring out what you expect a powerful property of this size to achieve nowadays. People seemed genuinely surprised that there was a good Hulk game. It was something that was pretty immediate when you got a controller in your hand, but before, those people were pretty cynical. Activision had a string of very successful Spider-Man games that people were very hungry for. By contrast, the Hulk movie came out and just didn't ignite in that same way. So we started off having to convince everyone that there should even be another Hulk game. Then we had to convince people that we should do something ambitious. But we didn't have a huge budget, we didn't have a lot of people, or a lot of time. But what we had was a team of very passionate and creative people who were determined to make something great. It was fun to be in that environment. Radical entertained the idea of a sequel and even had thoughts of a game based on the Ultimates. However, the studio lost the Hulk's video game rights in 2007. A deal was struck between Sega and Marvel to develop tie-in games for their upcoming films. On June 5th, 2008, The Incredible Hulk would be released to poor reception. Many compared the game to Ultimate Destruction and noted how much of a pale imitation it was. Luckily, Eric Holmes and his team were working on an original title that was more of a successor to Ultimate Destruction than the movie game, Prototype. Prototype mutated into what is known as today by being a combination of Radical's Hulk games and John Carpenter's The Thing, reusing controls, gameplay mechanics, and animations from the Hulk titles with a tinge of grotesque and shape-shifting nonsense. The game did well enough to warrant a sequel, but before development began for Prototype 2, Radical dabbled into movie tie-in territory again with Sam Raimi's Spider-Man 4. The cancellation of the film led to the inevitable cancellation of the game, with the majority of its assets being used for Prototype 2. The release of Radical's anticipated sequel was met with the same acclaim as its predecessor and became the top seller of April 2012. Unfortunately, this wouldn't be enough for Radical's new publisher and owner, Activision, reducing what once was a great video game developer to a shallow husk of its former self. Ultimate Destruction may not have been an omega smash hit on the scale of characters like Spider-Man and Batman, but it has its diehard fans and continues to receive praise 20 years later, as not only a great Hulk game, but just a great game all around. While it's unclear if a new video game about the Jade Giant is on the horizon, fans will continue to hold out hope for a project that builds upon what this game laid out and gives us an incredible new Hulk experience. In the meantime, we still have Radical's installment to fall back on. Thank you to Eric Holmes and his team for allowing us to experience the freedom to lose control.
Managing a team of 40, 50 people towards a common goal over 2 years, it's a huge challenge. And when you get to the finish line, it's pretty awesome, that feeling you get when, yeah, we did it as a team.